Welcome to Garage Talk, where the distancing is always social. I am your guest host, Nick Pemble, filling in for David Mort as I am interviewing the talented David Mort on his film, Wounds New and Old. David, how are you doing?
I'm going for the simple demasking today because last time I did, I threw a mic across the room.
Oh, simple demasking sounds like the right way to go.
It does.
Yeah.
I am good. Thank you so much for letting me come on this show and talk, and thank you so much for taking on my duties this time.
I'm very honored to do so. We also have two of the stars of the film here today, Chelsea Reel.
Hi. Hi, party people.
And Will Brack.
Hello, Nick.
Hello.
I'm super excited to spend the next hour with you. And
It's an hour?
half an hour, whatever this turns into, with David and Chelsea.
That sounds better. Well, so I've watched the film many times, and the three words that I came up with to describe it: wistful, fatalistic, tragic. And and Wounds is a very apt name for this particular short film. Because the wounds define each and every character in this film and what they do and what they feel that they can do. Would you say that that's probably a fair assumption?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Okay,
totally.
Great. And it is a noir. It's done in the style of a noir nostalgia to the post-World War II, dark, kind of like gritty perspective. It's very, what's the right word? Existential. And there's a lot of different issues that these characters deal with. They're dealing with PTSD, or what they call battle fatigue back in the day. Alcoholism, that seems to be a theme. They're using that. When you guys were making this film, were these themes something that you were conscious of, or was this something that just you've watched so many noirs that it was such a subconscious thing that it just kind of took on a life of its own right out the gate?
So I think that's a good question, because I think it was kind of yes and no. Like that genre is kind of full of people who are dealing with really extreme situations, and I think a lot of times, unlike a lot of the more modern films, the noir style lends itself to people who are very broken. For even the protagonists in those films have a lot of emotional problems. So I think there was some of that piece that, as we were working on the film, we knew that had to be kind of a part of it. The other piece that I think, for me at least, was so my wife is a very, very talented writer. She writes books and she writes films and TV shows, and she wrote the script pretty minimalist. So it was sort of like, here are these characters, here's a hint at who they are and kind of what motivates them. But that was a lot of it was kind of left open to interpretation, and so a lot of it was kind of working with all of the actors, specifically Chelsea and Will, to kind of find out the backstories of who these characters were, and sort of figure out where their traumas were and where they lived in those characters.
That's a really interesting thing to hear, because normally when you have a script, you're working with the writer-director, and they're giving you these hard answers about this backstory, but you had to take this thing, and you had to kind of create those backstories yourself.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
It was super fun because, like I said, one of the things I really like about working, so my wife and I have worked together now for about 3 years on a couple of different projects off and on, and one of the things I really like about her is she has the ability to sort of go, I can give you everything if you need it, or I can give you varying degrees of what this is. And so when we started the idea for the film, Will came up kind of with the idea and the kind of basic outline of the story, and then said, hey, do you want to have your wife take a look at it and see if she could put a script together?
Wow.
And so she did, and she sent me a draft of it.
For OPB comes from our members and from Oregon Lottery, partnering with the Oregon Department of Education.
Stop it! Commercial break.
We have...
What a rookie mistake.
I know.
Get out of
I
here!
had no idea how I did that. That was the hardest thing.
Do you want to keep going?
Well, let's just keep rolling.
I think we're good. We can keep going.
So that's really, I didn't know that you came up with the outline.
Yeah. So no, it's funny. I was on a set with Rick, I don't remember what, and he asked me if I had any ideas for a scene in Eugene.
Yeah.
So I asked my wife, I didn't at the time, and she said, well, what about like a noir? So I've got a friend in Portland, and he and I kind of volleyed ideas back and forth. And so I reapproached Rick, and I said, hey, what if we shot this in black and white? We made it a mystery. The hard thing about this, though, is scene in Eugene's are 15 to 20 minutes long. And so how are we going to establish these characters and set up a mystery to be solved and then solve that thing? So that's when I went to David and asked him if he'd have an interest in directing it and his wife possibly writing the script for it. So
Yeah.
that was that process.
That is a challenging thing to do in 15 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just there's a lot in this little film, man. I mean, there's so much that's covered, and I thought about so many different things. I was thinking about, going back to wounds, like there's the Purple Heart, there's that, the Purple Heart on the desk,
Right.
as well as the picture of the guys in the military,
Yeah.
and there's a guy with an accordion, and it looks like everybody in there is having like a really good moment, in the midst of this, environment which is fear cloaked in courage.
Right.
And they're literally, hunting and killing other human beings and being hunted and killed by
Sure.
other human beings.
Right.
And they come back, to this world. They've won the war, so they have that feeling of victory, but they also have this horrible, these secrets that they feel that they just absolutely cannot share with their family.
Right.
And I know that you're a veteran.
Right. So, touching on David, kind of giving us the freedom to create backstories for these characters, is important to me for Logan to be a vet of the war, and to kind of talk about PTSD is something that we barely have control over now in modern days with service members. So then, it wasn't talked about, and it was even worse, and it was all self-medication.
Yeah.
And then, the added problem of coming out of the military and entering civilian life and trying to find your place, because those two worlds are so vastly different. So it was important for me to show that struggle with Logan, both sides of that coin.
And I think it's interesting that he chose to be a private detective.
Right.
So it was like he chose not to really leave that world behind
That's all he knows.
completely.
Yeah.
It was like, I still want to have my foot in this grittiness, the darker side, and
Right.
the understanding of, use my understanding of the darker side of human nature to
Definitely.
do some good in
Yeah.
society.
Completely agree.
Chelsea, what were some of the things that you had to deal with? I mean, coming to grips with this character, like what were some of the thoughts? Did you find that you were close to this character, or did you find that she was a ways apart and you had to do some homework?
Well, it was like getting to know her, kind of. Like David said, it was a big process of finding out why is she doing the things that she's doing. And for me, she was definitely like a woman on the edge. She's like on the edge of her sanity and just like desperate. She's been forced into situations where she is completely out of her comfort zone and she has to try to piece together something to save her family. Yes. So for me, I fell in love with her kind of because I just got to know her, and I have a fondness in my heart for Sandra. Crazy biatch you.
Yes.
Well, if I can interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
I think one of the things was when we auditioned this film. So Will was going to always play Logan. He kind of came up with the idea and was like, this is something he wanted to work towards. So Logan was always sort of secured. But one of the most important things I think you get to do as a director is cast a role. And I think a lot of times, at least when I was starting off as an actor, to me, it came down to, was I the best actor in the room? And if I didn't get cast, then it was because I wasn't the best actor in the room. And it's just not the case. The best advice I ever got on acting was from a coach who was like, you may be the best vanilla ice cream in the entire world.
But you're still vanilla ice cream.
You're still vanilla, and they want strawberry.
And they want strawberry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was interesting because Sandra was one of those roles that there was a lot there that I knew that character was going to have to do. Yeah. And so we auditioned quite a number of actors in town for that role, and we were lucky because Will was there at all those auditions, and everybody was great. Like everybody did just a wonderful job acting. But there was something about Chelsea when she walked in the room, and she just had this certain energy and sort of focus and determination about her that was just perfect for Sandra. And so it was really fun to get to work with her and watch her develop that character, because she came in like, right on the mark, and then just kind of continued to discover who this person was. And that was a really fun kind of process for me, because it was one of the first times where like somebody came in to an audition and I wasn't 100% sure who that character was yet. And then to know that that was her, and then to watch her then take that character through the rest of the journey was really fun.
I also just want to say, too, that you told me that I was the only one that seemed like I was actually going to shoot Will. It was like, you're the only one that I was actually kind of afraid, like, yikes.
No, just reading across from you, it changed my performance, because I was literally kind of feeling a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
Good. That's how I like it.
Well, without further ado, feel free to explain this clip that we're going to show the people at home.
Sure. So we are kind of, this is towards the beginning of the film. It's one of the few scenes in the film that doesn't have something that sort of spoils the ending of it a little bit. So we had to be really selective with what we put. But it's the first time we meet Logan and Sandra. So the story that we don't see is there's a murder, and Sandra's character is not happy with what the police find, and so she hires Logan to investigate it. And the story picks up the night of the day Logan gives Sandra his findings, which match up with what the police say. Mm-hmm. And so the intro of the story, which is what we're about to watch, is Logan waking up to find Sandra has come back to his office late at night and is demanding more answers.
Awesome. Let's run it.
Go.
70,000 fans were in Dallas this weekend watching the 13th Cotton Bowl Championship. Mustangs of MSU defeated the Webfoots of Oregon, 21-13. The Oregon trying their best. They couldn't withstand the talent of All-American Doug Walker, who passed a touchdown in the first 5 minutes of the game. The real razzle-dazzle started in the third quarter when MSU sophomore Kyle Rose broke through the Oregon defense and sprinted to a...
Come in. I thought I told you not to come back here.
It doesn't matter to me what you said.
Get out.
Now, I paid you for answers.
And I got them for you.
I don't want the answers that you found at the bottom of a bottle. I want the truth.
It's not my fault you didn't like what I found.
Well, you must have missed something.
I got everything there was.
Well, that got your feet wet. So one thing that people do not necessarily know about this particular film is that there were sets that were built for it.
Yep.
Take us through that process.
So we shot this film in all the office stuff was shot in June of 2020, and so it was in the middle of the pandemic. We'd kind of cast it in January, rehearsed a little bit in February, and we were going to shoot it at the end of March, and then the pandemic hit and sort of everything shut down in our area.
Wow.
And so we took this like 3-month forced break. And then as kind of, we were realizing that number one, this was not going to be like a short hiatus.
Right.
And it was going to take some time. We started looking at how do we move forward with the project. And so that was really a conversation about the number of people present at filming. So we had to keep the crew small and try to have large spaces so we could distance.
Right.
And so then we started looking for different set locations. And the office, we couldn't find anything that met all those criteria and was within what our price range was going to be.
Right.
And right. And so the joys of indie filmmaking.
Yeah.
And so Rick, who is I think one of the unsung heroes of the Lane County film community, said, well, we could just use the local film station, and I can build a set, a CTV, and I can build a set in there, and we can make it the detective's office.
Yes.
And so over the course of, I think, the next 3 weeks, Rick built something like 14 risers, or they're called flats in the theater world. These big kind of flat pieces of wood that are framed and then latched together in the back and then supported with like an A-frame type of build to create the office. And so it was huge. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, not good for jumping back on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Will has a part where he has to fall back, and they're not very sturdy.
No. The wall, we had to change walls, Will's jump because of that. We didn't want to send the set down. But yeah, it was this, it was this massive, I don't remember how long it was. It was probably like 14, it was like probably 15 to 20 feet like long and deep. It was these 3/4 walls and a window in it and a door. And so we built that set. And then we loaded it into the TV station, and then Jeff and Bill and Rick then spackled the seams of the wall so it looked like a solid wall, and they painted it. And then between Will and I, took half the furniture out of our houses and made the detective office there. So it was a pretty big undertaking, but it was a lot of fun. Like, number one, it worked out really well because, there's a lot of sound studio work being done in the noir genre, and so it was cool to sort of try to bring that piece into it.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun. It was huge. I don't know if you guys, anything you wanted to add kind of on that piece. It was Rick did an amazing job on it.
What did you guys do for the morgue?
Oh, yeah. So that morgue is actually that same television station, but there's no walls or anything. So the only thing that exists on the background is a small desk with a light on it, and it's just these black curtains that are kind of covering the rest of the wall.
Yeah.
But it, it's so funny. Like, I completely forgot that we shot that in the same place. But it narrow depth of field, so you don't really see the background. And then in the audio piece, we put a little bit of an echo on the voices, so it sounds like it's a sort of big empty space. But yeah, same location.
And I loved Quinn's performance in that. Man, that guy is solid, like literally, figuratively as an actor, and just in real life. I remember on Blood Money when I was leaning on him, and I was like, "Damn, I would not want to mess with this dude." Like, you can feel that he's strong. Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, Quinn was great. So kind of early in the process, I kind of wanted to play the mortician. Like, I had a really specific idea about who this guy had to be, because in the noir genre and kind of in the tropes of that, there is always this sort of weird, odd, almost comedic role that has to happen somewhere in the film.
Yes.
And everybody that we auditioned was taking it very serious and very focused. And I was like, this guy needs to be a weirdo. And Rick kept going, he's like, it's a lot to act and direct at the same time. And he's like, and we're all kind of figuring things out still. I don't know if that's a great idea. And kind of where I landed was like, if I don't find the exact right person for this, I'm just going to do it, because if it's not done the way I want it, it's not going to be right.
Right.
And then Quinn rolled in and auditioned, and it was so perfect. And in fact, I'm trying to remember, I think really his audition is not too far off from where we landed in the final film. Like, he came in, there's a prop he uses in the film. I don't want to ruin it. But, But he brought that imaginary pantomime prop into the audition, and we kind of just built that character off of that. So he was great.
Yeah, that was great. I also loved your little radio razzle dazzle blah 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 blah. I enjoyed that very much. At that time, if you don't talk like this, no one's going to take you seriously or whatever. You can't be a man of the people. You don't talk like this.
Well, we talked about that. When we were rehearsing the film, we kind of talked about, do we want to do that? Because so at this point in American acting, there is what's called a standard kind of regional accent that's taught to actors, and it's sort of this sort of that sort of sound like this. It comes across real weird. And so in the noir films, a lot of the actors have that accent, and so we kind of talked about it as a cast. And my mentality was like, let's find that rhythm and tempo in that accent, but let's not do that accent because it's too much. But we had to put something in there. So we thought, well, what a best way to do it is, there's a performer in the script, so we'll do that, and then that's my little acting job in there.
Nice.
Dazzle, dazzle.
That's right.
Now, Chris Golden, DP.
Yeah.
Now, did he put forth a lot of the shot lists, or was that you working with him? Fill that out for me a little bit.
It was sort of a combination of both.
Yeah.
And Rick was involved in that process too. Rick did the lighting on the film, and so the three of us worked together a lot to kind of figure that stuff out. I think I really, really, really enjoyed working with Chris for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons that I really enjoyed working with Chris was I think he and I had some very different ideas going into the project, like what it should look like and what it should sort of feel like. And, you know, I think I love collaboration. And I love collaborating with people who have really strong opinions about stuff. Because it ultimately becomes a better product.
And it forces you to analyze your reasons and your vision for it. And that's really important.
Yeah, and
you can't improve, you know?
Yeah, and it wasn't always really like comfortable. Like there were times I think I really irritated Chris because, you know, he would have this idea and I was coming in with like all of my preconceived ideas of what it should be. But, you know, the thing I'll say for Chris is Chris did an amazing job of, number one, I think it looks beautiful. Yeah. And all of my favorite shots in this film are either Rick or Chris shots. Like that's just, you know, like the stuff that's really pretty are ideas that they came up with. Chris had this idea kind of on the fly to do this shot at, there's a scene that takes place at a house and there's a mini bar. And it's one of my absolute favorite moments in the film. So good. And then just sort of the other thing I will say about Chris that I really enjoyed was Chris will argue his feeling until you say, no, that's the decision. And then he's like, okay, great, let's do it. And like, that's such an amazing like thing to have because to have somebody who's passionate and excited and cares about what they're doing. Yeah. But then at the point when it goes, okay, this is the direction we're going, to have that person then go, okay, I've made my case. You're either with me or you don't see it from that point, but you're the director, so we're going in that direction. So Chris, I have nothing but really like glowing things to say about Chris in that regard.
Awesome. So what about the score? I mean, there's 3 separate pieces of music. Yep. How did you acquire those?
I was a lot of work on my part, all alone, just... No. We... Because the independent film world is like 5 people wearing 12 different hats. Sure. Not only did Will act as one of the producers on the film, the guy who came up with the story for the film, the lead actor in the film, he also did the score of the film. And he spent, I think, probably as much time as I did editing the film looking for the music.
That's very kind of you.
It's true.
No, I looked through some kind of film royalty-free options. I found a place online that allows you to take a song, they'll present a song, and then you can manipulate it from there. So you can dress down the orchestration, or you can give it a different feel. So I found 3 songs that I really liked a lot. Initially, I wanted this to be a jazz-based thing, because jazz is really important to me. I grew up playing trumpet. And especially the time period, I was really in love with the 40s and 50s when I was going through that whole jazz phase, but it just wasn't working. So I found some full orchestration pieces that I liked a lot, some simplistic piano things. And then for the rest of the film, I filled it in with some of my own playing and some of my own, I have some sample banks that I am a member of, and I kind of twisted those around to fit, you know, what we had going on visually. So
great, man.
So yeah, so I'm happy with how it turned out.
I wanted to ask you, what was it like working with your son?
So I'm glad you asked. That was very cool. There was a scene on a porch where his character and mine are talking. And that's probably the most special moment for me. And another reason is he's playing with some props. We found some 40s and 50s Little Green Army men on eBay. But another one of the props is a train. It's from a Lionel train set. And that particular train was made in 1949, which is when this film takes place. And that belongs to my dad. So it was kind of neat having like kind of 3 generations somewhat involved in one scene.
That's really awesome. Man.
So it was cool.
Wow.
And it really sparked a fire for him. I think he's got a legitimate interest in acting now. This was his first gig. And working with David was a big deal. David was super patient with him and got him from a certain place to, you know, where we see him in the film, which was leaps and bounds from when he started. So.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
So good. So cute.
And Chelsea was fantastic. I mean, Chelsea plays his mom, so
yeah.
So that relationship kind of sparked right away.
Yeah, how was that? I mean, you have this relationship to this young man who is now your son, and then you also have this relationship to your husband.
Yeah.
And how was it like finding the feelings, finding the emotions, and relating to that particular circumstance?
Well, they're both so great. They're like genuinely good people. So it's easy to like get a conversation started and build rapport. I remember Colin, my son, was in his audition. He was like a little nervous because he has to hold a gun and the other stuff. I don't want to get into that too much, but he was afraid and just being like, yo, you're doing great. Like it's awesome. Like, you know, he's just an actor.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
And that reminds me, he was trying to interject a point. Everybody was talking, all the actors and David, and he was trying to say something, but he just got completely overrun just by everybody else talking.
Sure.
But Chelsea noticed it, and she stopped everybody. She was like, what were you saying?
Yeah.
And that went a huge way with him, as far as being in love with you and working with you.
Yeah.
He's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like father, like son.
Oh, stop it. Stop it, you.
And Michael too was really great to build a rapport and then like kind of find your way into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's easy with good people.
Yes, it is. Well, with that, folks, I think that we pretty well covered this thing. And I hope you viewers go in and tune in and enjoy. Thank you. Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for coming
you.
out.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
David.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Guest host extraordinaire.
Thank you.